This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
Danilo's free, and it goes to Gibbs White.
First time we've seen them attack them, and there's Francis! Well, that's what I wanted to see Robinson do. Taiwo Awoniyi scores! And the City ground goes ballistic!
Here's Bob Williams. He's through here! And in the end, Forrest will say it doesn't matter how you play as long as you win it.
Yeah! Forrest Premier League!
Hello and welcome to the latest issue of Red Side Le Trent as we come to you following a fairly frustrating night for Nottingham Forest as they were held 1-0 by newly promoted Burnley in their fifth game of the Premier League campaign. The result leaves them 8th in the table. Still was a bit weird to say 8th in the Premier League table with 7 points from 5 games, which I'm sure we all have taken having seen the run that we had. Although there is a possibility that some may have wanted a little bit more. But yes, we'll cover that in due course. I'm your host, Christian Brown, and we don't quite have a full house today, but I am with Reiss and Adam Wicklow. So we will start, Reiss, with you, with the first shock of the night, if you like, that wasn't quite the new Forest logo, if you like, of the side of the Trent end. Apparently, I've been told lights up, which looks quite cool. Yeah. But it was the team selection itself. So, obviously, straight off the bat, it looked like a 4-2-3-1. There were first starts for Montiel and Elanga, debuts for Sangare and Hudson-Odoi. Were you quite surprised with Cooper's sort of tactics for the game and sort of his team selection?
I wouldn't say the tactics I was surprised with. The selection, yeah, I was a bit surprised, but I was also excited at the same time. I mean, when I saw the team and you looked at a front three with the pace of that front three, and obviously Gibbs White in behind, and then you've got your record signing starting in Sangare for the initial record anyway. Yeah, it was exciting. I thought it was probably very harsh and actually the wrong decision to drop Ryan Yates. I thought again last night was a typical game for him. A team who's probably going to come and battle. I know Burnley are a lot more fluid than Sheffield United, but a team who probably would have before the game took a point and ran for the hills. So I was surprised to see him not in the side. And after his performance at Chelsea, amongst others, yeah, I can feel a little hard done by. The others, obviously, Montiel came in because Aurier was he injured? Aurier, I think he had a knock, Cooper said. And then Bolly was ill, I believe. I think he said in his post-match. So they were kind of enforced changes. But yeah, I was excited because I thought, yeah, this is a team what can go at Burnley, even though I expected them to have quite a bit of the ball because they are stuck in that way of playing from the Championship, although it is hard at this level. But yeah, I was excited when I saw the team.
Yeah, I think there's lots to be excited by. I think, on paper, it's very good. It was just a case of whether it would fit in. And so I suppose Adam sort of took a little bit of time. I think Forest were fairly slow out the blocks yesterday. I don't think it was, it wasn't like one of those where we've seen before where we're firing from first whistle. It took us a little bit of a while to sort of get our foot on the ball a little bit, but we did take control for a good 20-minute spell in the first half. And, a lot of Burnley errors went unpunished, which was quite uncharacteristic really of us, especially recently with our goal scoring form that we've been on, where we sort of latched onto mistakes and sort of made the most of it, which you kind of have to be as a Premier League team. But were you sort of infused by that start? Did you think that a goal was a formality? What did you think from the first 20 minutes or so?
Yeah, I generally thought we'd force them into an error where it kind of looked like we're playing on Sunday morning kind of thing, and we might capitalise on one of those mistakes. We got into so many good areas with Elanga, Hudson-Odoi, Gibbs White, Awoniyi not so much, but it was always like those little moments in the final third that was kind of costing us. Decision making, I thought overall on the night wasn't the best, but that's kind of expected when you've got a new front four almost playing together for the first time in that way where we're trying to get on the front foot. But it's exciting. I think it's going to take a few games to get that going, and then obviously depending on opposition, because obviously City away next. I mean, we'll probably talk about it later on, but I expect a completely different approach to that game because we're probably going to see very little of the ball again. So it's going to be a work in progress. I think in hindsight, you kind of have to just look back and go, there's still more to come, and I'm sure it'll be exciting.
Yeah, definitely. I think I would agree as well with the final ball being particularly poor all night, especially. It wasn't just in the first 20 minutes. It was quite reflective of Forest as a whole, which I think was the most frustrating element, I think, to take out of that. Because I think as much as, and obviously we'll come on to this in due course, Burnley probably left Nottingham last night more disappointed than we were that they had 1 point rather than 3. But yet, had our final ball been better in those first 20 minutes, especially when it was almost like they was completely unable to put a pass out to the right hand side. Burnley, I think there was about 3 or 4 which went straight out of play, just like try to find the right back. And yeah, sadly we just couldn't capitalise on it. And Reiss, as we know in the Premier League, if you don't take your chances, if you don't stamp your authority, if you don't, throw your weight around, you are liable to be punished. And lo and behold, Burnley started to get a bit of a foothold and then took control in very frustrating circumstances. I'll let you dissect the goal, and but obviously took the lead. I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, I'm not sure how you pronounce the lad's name on the left wing for them. I'm not sure if you two
Colio
should be getting used to it now. He scored twice against us now, isn't he? Oh, sorry, yeah.
No,
Amdouni scored the goal.
On about Amdouni. I was very, very impressed with him. Pace to burn, and he caused Montiel a lot of problems all night. I'm sure we'll come on to Montiel later, but I mean, when watching the highlights, when Joe Worrell runs out to him, I just thought it was going to be a typical perfectly timed challenge from Joe Worrell. He's quite good at perfectly timed slide tackles, and I'm not sure kind of what happened. Whether it was kind of with obviously the surface being quite greasy last night with all the rain we've had yesterday, typical British weather again. And it was just like that split second where the guy, the left wing guy, again, I forgot his name already. The guy literally had that split second empty where he's just gone. And once he's knocked the ball past Worrell and Montiel's a bit behind, he's in. And then the ball's kind of played back into, it's bobbled on the edge of the area, and it's a good finish from Amdouni. It's right in the corner. There's absolutely no chance for Matt Turner, and I think he just bent it round Worrell, didn't he? He actually got back into a centre back position then. So yeah, it was disappointing in the sense that really we probably should have stopped that on the wing. But like you say, Christian, in this league, there is going to be teams are going to get a chance, and at times teams are going to punish you. And Amdouni's finish was a really good finish, like I say, right into the bottom corner. And sometimes you just got to say, well, yeah, we should have done better maybe to stop the position it got into. But with the finish, there's nothing we could have really done about that, unfortunately.
No, yeah, I think you're right. It was frustrating. We capped off a terrible 10-minute spell for Montiel because he got booked for a late lunge, if you like, where you saw it's oh Christ, like what you done that for? And then I think he misplaces next 3 passes and then just gets absolutely destroyed. I did have a tinge of sympathy for him though, because when the ball's cut back across, actually Montiel gets a deflection on it, which stops it going to I think it was Foster on the 6-yard box. But then that deflection that just takes it straight out to the edge of the box and we don't close it down. It's like, how's your luck?
He's still got a lot to do, to be fair, there, Amdouni, and it's a cracking finish.
Yeah.
For me, I think Worrell doesn't need to run diagonally towards Koleosho because he surely knows that he's just going to burn him for pace. If he runs actually in parallel to him, he either meets him and either has to stop him in his tracks and make him go round him, or when he does go out wide, he has to clean him out, really. I think, like what you said, Reiss, he hesitates a little bit weirdly.
No, I generally thought he timed the run to perfection. I literally thought, right, as I seen him running across, right, yeah, he's going to come across, a slide tackle's going to come in, everybody's going to clap, and Burnley's going to get a throw in. And then it was just like, I don't know whether I'm not sure, that just that little split second, and I don't know if it's just a bit of a stutter or, but like I said, because of the surface, just a bit little tiny bit odd, and then in that moment, he'd obviously burnt him. I mean, yeah, like I say, he had absolutely pace to burn, that young lad. I mean, I was looking at his career, and he's only played a few times for Espanyol, so it was a real strange one to see him going from I think was Espanyol in La Liga 2 maybe last year, I think, or did they go? I think they went down, didn't they? Because Barcelona actually sent them down, I believe, their rivals. So to go from that kind of relegation fodder in La Liga, hardly playing, to really impressive in the Premier League, it's fair play to that. He looks a talent to behold.
He looked very good. He looked really good. Like I said to you after the game, he reminded me a bit of Ganonto, his start last season. I remember Leeds had a game at Wolves last year at Molineux, and Ganonto just destroyed that right-hand side. It was very reminiscent of that, really.
Ironically, this guy's apparently Italian as well, according to Flash Score. So.
Yeah, well, hopefully this one doesn't go on strike if Burnley are going down. But going back to the incident, I mean, I was much like you, very surprised that Worrell didn't deal with it. Obviously, it's not. We can't just blame him for it because Montiel's just been abandoned his post basically. But
it wasn't a slide from Worrell at all. I just. Not sure what kind of happened there.
No, but I think that surprised me the most is that it's his strength. Like Worrell's much bigger and stronger than him, and he was in a position where he could sort of almost lean over, and he wouldn't have been a penalty or anything like that because he wouldn't, he would just would have been put down to it's just lack of strength. But he just sort of, you're right, he sort of froze, didn't he? He sort of just like in that split second, he's gone, he's cut the ball back, and that's the quote our former manager. Those are the fine margins we deal with, unfortunately, in the Premier League. But Adam, I mean, second half was a little bit better. Again, Montiel wasn't great to begin with, and the change that we all sort of foresaw ended up happening with Nuno Tavares coming on in the place of him, and Ola Aina switching to right back, and that sort of took that left wing out of the game. Really, it was very quiet after that, and we seemed to make that most of that. I mean, obviously, that was a change. We know Cooper doesn't really like making early changes, but were you sort of in agreement that sort of needed to be done, especially as a yellow card as well?
Yeah, I thought Montiel was getting destroyed nearly every time Koleosho was having a chance to run at him. He really struggled. I'm not sure if that's just like an adapting thing where he's just not expecting that, or you're playing against a lad who's just absolutely fearless, quite clearly, isn't it? And he's just using his key attribute. But once Ola Aina went over that way, he completely snuffed him out. It's similar to how Serge Aurier came on against Nonto in the Leeds game, wasn't it, for Nico Williams, and just it snuffed him out. Experience, pace, power. I mean, the tackle he put in the right-hand corner, I don't know if that was at 1-1 or what, but that was a kind of a no chance here, lad. Like you've got no hope. And I thought Ola Aina was absolutely outstanding on both fullback positions. I mean, what a pickup! I said this before in the break. What a pickup he's been for free. It's been brilliant.
Outrageous, isn't it? Like, of all the signings we've made, it could well be that's the most astute one, which is insane, really. But I mean, obviously, I'm reluctant to be too critical of Montiel because, as we saw last year with Lodi, obviously Lodi started off very slowly, and then his class shined through. Ultimately, you don't have a CV like Montiel's if it's terrible at football. Let's be honest.
I'll be interested to see what he's like in a wing back position, more so, because I think that's more his strength. But I think he can play in a 4. I think it would just take him maybe a bit of time to get used to and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, we'll certainly see. But I mean, I thought it was a bit. Some of our fans were a bit too eager to put the knife in last night. Some of the ones who have serious issues with the ownership, shock horror, and which is a bit unfortunate. But I'm not going to write him off of one game. Like I said before, like he isn't, for what it's worth, he isn't on our player performances. This is why I'm sort of covering it now. But we've seen good players have terrible debuts and starts at Forest and go on to be fine, and we've seen very bad players have very good debuts. Like take Shelby, for example. Shelby looked great against Fulham. Now he's at some Turkish team no one's ever heard of. So.
Chris O'Grady is the one into for debuts. He was the one QPR way when he was absolutely unplayable.
Yeah, it does happen. These things do happen, but like I said, I'm reluctant to put the knife in too much just yet. Let's give him a fair crack of the whip first, and I'm sure he'll get that in time. But Reiss, I mean, I think what we come on to was, the Callum Hudson-Odoi goal, which, after a brilliant ball from Sangare into the box, which Taiwo takes down immensely and lays it off. But out of all the goals we've scored, probably as a Premier League team ever, that one might be ranking up pretty highly, I think.
Ooh, ever. I think definitely since we've come back, and that's probably the best one, I'd say. So I think Cooper mentioned that. I'm not sure if you guys have read his post match. He said we conceded so many of them goals last season. It's got to be a point when you've got to start scoring them kind of goals. And yeah, that was an absolutely brilliant goal. I mean, my celebrations was more the gift of Pep when he was at Bayern Munich, when I think Lewandowski scored his fourth goal in 10 minutes. Where it was absolute kind of shock, because it was inch perfect, wanted it in off the post, and James Trafford in goal for them was full length, and he got nowhere near it. No keeper in the world saving that, and a great start for him, because he's gone from I think Bayern Munich were bidding 60-70 million for him a few years ago to a £3 million player. With respect to the kid, it's a bit of a fall from grace, isn't it? But the good thing is he's still got age on his side. I think he's only 22. He's back working with a manager who he had success with England in the youth system. So hopefully he can get back up to a good level with us and realise that potential, really. And that was the perfect start last night. I thought aside from the goal as well, I thought he did quite well. He looked to attack. I think it was Connor Roberts wanted it right back. He looked to attack him several times. Like you said earlier, Christian, it was just couldn't, that break just kind of wouldn't happen for us, would it, last night? I think with a lot of players, really. And the only kind of detriment of Hudson-Odoi playing was that Alanga went to the right, and this is after me saying last week Hudson-Odoi would play on the right, and Alanga, I think, to be fair to Charlie Taylor, I thought he did quite well against Alanga. So on the back of what the Burnley fan said to you, Adam, say he was pretty drafted in, wanting he isn't a competent player. I thought he dealt with Alanga really well. So yeah, but Hudson-Odoi, fabulous goal. Definitely the best goal I think we've seen since we got back up, and it probably will be up there in terms of goals we've scored in the Premier League. I'm just thinking of the Bohemian outside of the foot, Sheffield Wednesday probably one, and I'm not sure if that chip against Tottenham was in the Premier League. Just a couple to think about off the top of my head.
I'm saying it's definitely in the conversation. I mean,
yeah,
as you said, it is perfect. I mean, the noise off the post as well. It's just it's just that sort of Italian sort of hand gesture, just perfect. It's just yeah.
You couldn't see it had gone in at first. From obviously, you seen it hit the post, and you didn't really know from the bridge for them whether it hit the post and come back out, and you was kind of waiting on the Trent end to get up and celebrate. But yeah, that was a fabulous goal.
No, I think you made a valid point about Alanga as well. I mean, I saw the tweet earlier of someone saying "Oh, no one's mentioning Brennan Johnson after last night." I was like, well, one, no one asked. It's a ridiculous comment to make. But two, I actually felt that Johnson would have been a better fit in that system on the right hand side. We're in this position now where it's sort of and it's another sort of headache for Cooper almost, is are Hudson-Odoi and Alanga best off the left cutting in than being isolated on the right, and sort of, I mean, to his credit, Alanga, he never stopped trying. He was always willing to take him on. He was always willing to try and move the ball up the pitch. He never backed down from Taylor once, but he wasn't getting the joy. I mean, also, there's another factor. It was his first start. We've seen him come on against more tired legs before, where his pace maybe makes more of a difference. Who knows? But yeah, that was definitely an interesting point, because Taylor had a very good game, I thought, for Burnley last night. And Alanga was
like the Burnley fan said to Adam, he was kind of a typical Sean Dyche player, wasn't he? He just kind of gave it 100% and stuck to his task. He didn't do anything over the top or anything exuberant. He just stuck to his task. And I thought, for someone who, as the Burnley fan again said to Adam, for someone who was pretty rusty, you'd say, I thought he did a pretty decent job for them.
Definitely, yeah. Adam, the game wasn't without controversy, which is quite a two-pronged.
Where is Lee Clark?
Yeah, where is Lee when you need him? He's doing a pitch inspection somewhere. Goodness me. But yeah, I mean, where do you start? So I mean, honestly, I actually agreed with Cooper in that I was more annoyed with the defending for this than anything else. So I mean, it's a clip ball over the top. It's nothing particularly fancy or anything like that. But obviously, Sander Berg's take it down on his bicep basically, and put the ball over and scored. But I mean, what did you think? Because I'd seen it from multiple ways. I thought it was quite interesting. One of my mates is an Arsenal fan, and he has no allegiance either way to Forest or Burnley. And he messaged me straight away afterwards and went, "That's handball every day of the week." Like he's whether it's at full speed, whether it's on slow mo in the replays, like he's controlled that. He's brought it down with his arm. It's handball. I had another mate say to me, like, also an Arsenal fan, coincidentally, he said that's incredibly harsh. So it's, and I think BBC ran a poll, like, was it the right or wrong decision? And I think 6,000 said it was a wrong decision, 5,000 said it was right. So even that's not a massive sort of like, it's very divisive. Where do you stand on it? And do you think we got away with one? Do you think it was handball? What's your sort of thoughts on the situation?
In real time, I generally just thought Scott McKenna got bodied by Sander Berge, to be honest, and I was more bothered about that than obviously seeing it was handball and seeing the highlight. I kind of, it's neither here nor there, is it? You'd feel hard done by if it's your own team, and you're kind of like thankful that it went for you in terms of the VAR. But I think if Sander Berge doesn't have his arm there, does he control the ball? Does it like ricochet off McKenna back into his path and then not really matter? You're never going to know. So for me, as a biased Forest fan, it's the right decision, isn't it? But yeah, you feel hard done by if it's your own team, but I can see why it's given. I'm more bothered about the defending, really. I mean, the key question is, and I'm sure a lot of Forest fans are debating this, is that kind of the end for Scott McKenna now? Is this now there? If you want to go to a 4 at the back, is Niakate now a must? And then do you start trying to push through Murillo because Scott McKenna's contorted teams in January? I mean, that was not the Scott McKenna we saw in the 3 against Chelsea, was it? I think he's more suited in that 3. But then again, he bailed us out on a few occasions, didn't he? But yeah, tricky one, I think. But I think the right decision was made just because I'm biased.
Reiss, what about you? I think it's one that we sort of have to open up for everyone.
Yeah. We obviously had one before, didn't we? With I've seen a screenshot of where it hits Taiwo's arm, but then on the video you can't see it hit his arm. So it's strange.
It doesn't hit Taiwo's arm.
Yeah,
it doesn't hit Taiwo's arm.
I've seen a kind of screenshot where it looks like it has, and I hate going on screenshots. I mean, we're in this modern day technology and we're going on screenshots as judge decisions. Is that, the media love that, don't they? Because it, especially TalkSport, because it obviously causes debate. So we spoke about this, didn't we, in his group chat? I mentioned it to Lee that I didn't think it was deliberate handball, but Lee said the rule is it's either deliberate handball or to gain an advantage. So hitting his arm has really kind of gained his advantage because it's allowed him to follow his run through and cross it to Lyle Foster, and he's turned it in. So by the letter of the law, which I think most of us don't know nowadays because handball's so subjective, and that by the letter of the law, it is probably the right decision. But like you just said there, Christian, with that poll, it's totally split, and handball's always so tough to determine whether it is or not. So if I was a Burnley fan, I'd kind of be saying, well, is that a clear and obvious error from the referee? So it is a tough one, but with what Lee's, I'm going on what these are Lee's words, by the statement of the law, it's gaining an advantage, and that would mean that's why they've disallowed it. I'm guessing that's why they've disallowed it. But yeah, we did get away with one because, like Adam said, I mean, I'm not sure what. It was very similar to the error McKenna made against Bournemouth, wasn't it, last year, where he just got in a bit of a mess and tried to correct it. And like Adam said, Bird just kind of bodied him, got away from him, and then it was a bit of a disaster then, really.
We didn't really defend first and foremost a lot last night, where we could have just cleared the ball out up the line. We didn't want to seem to do that, which is fair enough if you want to play out, but when the option's not there, just bloody get it rid of it. That's what McKenna could have done, and he didn't.
I think you could tell as well that the team last night, Montiel's coming for his full Premier League debut. Sangare's coming for his full Premier League debut. There's probably a language barrier. I mean, it happened early last season. I remember when McKenna and Loddy was playing on that side. I think it was the Fulham and the Arsenal game where there was just like at 6s and 7s, and so it is going to take time. We probably know on paper we've got a better standard of player this season, but it's still going to take time, and relationships are going to have to build. And to be honest, like Adam just said there, that team last night, probably in, I don't know, a month, 2 months' time, there'll probably be players in that team who aren't starting. It's just the reality of the situation. And someone else who you'd not mentioned there, Adam, was Felipe as well to come back, who, for me, for what I've seen, is the best centre-back at the club. So there's plenty of competition. And if, with respect, if players aren't doing it, they're going to get replaced. And that's what we want, really, because at this level, you've got to be consistent week in, week out.
No, that's it. It's certainly food for thought for Cooper. I'm very interested to see what he does. I personally thought that Niakate was a shoo-in to start, regardless of anything else. I thought he'd be, he played 90 minutes in international break. He's obviously been on for the odd sub appearance here and there. He seems pretty recovered now, so there's no real need for him to be sort of, covered in cotton wool anymore. So I thought he'd be straight into the fray, but I imagine that'll come this weekend now. By all accounts.
The long throw as well. We've missed. I think we've missed that from Niakate because that's a weapon to his arsenal without any shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, it's quite weird being on the receiving end of that after our exploits till the end of last season. I think was it Brownhill. I think was just like absolutely launching absolute rockets into the box with his long throws. It was like
Connor
Roberts. Sorry, yeah. I mean,
Aiden's got a decent throwing, isn't he?
He has, although we haven't seen much of it, to be fair. But yeah, Reiss, that's your, sticker mate, isn't it?
Yeah, to be fair to Connor, I messaged him when Cooper joined and he tipped him up, to be fair to him, said he'd be a great manager for us, and he was one half right. So, yeah, it's Cooper's 2-year anniversary, I believe, Thursday. And like Colin Frey said, you've gone from the bottom of the Championship to 8th in the Premier League. It's not bad, is it?
It's not bad at all. No, I mean, where we were 2 years ago, I mean, gearing up to play Huddersfield away, like fearing the absolute worst is it's a far cry from where we are now. But I mean, it wasn't the end of the VAR controversy. In fact, from about the 85th minute onwards, it was just total chaos in that game, Reiss. So we had, We had Gibbs White, very nearly picking out Origi for a 1-on-1. We had disallowed goal. We had a red card. Sorry, we had the something else I was going to mention as well. That was of particular note. Oh, that's it. Chris Wood, did he score towards the end of the game as well? Like, it all sort of went off. But we'll go to the red card for you first and foremost. I mean, some people have tried to say bizarrely that they felt this was harsh, and I'm struggling to see any form of logical comprehension that could tell you that red card was harsh. It was perhaps the most blatant red cards we've seen in the last 15 years. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a red, and it's petty and it's silly, but you can't elbow people in the stomach, can you? When there's cameras now all around the ground, and so the only surprise for me was that Yates didn't get booked for doing a VAR symbol, because he drew the screen to the referee. I thought that's a booking, but that's what I mean with these rules. They've kind of made a rod for their own back. The ref booked Trafford dead early on for time wasting, and then there was several time wasting opportunities throughout the game. He didn't book anybody else. Yates has done that VAR symbol by the letter of the law. That's a yellow, and they're making a rod for their own back because fans are saying, "Well, where's the consistency?" But it was once Yates had convinced him to look at VAR, which it kind of looked like he basically said, "Are you going to have a look at VAR, ref?" And he kind of went, "Oh yeah, all right, I'll have a look for you." And he obviously seen it, and he's elbowed him in the stomach, and you can't do that. Company was on TalkSport after the game, and he kind of knew what he'd done. He kind of said Foster, because to be fair, Foster played well for him last night. I thought he said he kind of didn't admit he'd done it, but he kind of said, look, he's got to learn from it at the same time, which kind of says, yeah, it is a red. And also by his reaction, he, literally as soon as the referee pulled out the red card, there was no protest at all. He just walked. So he kind of knew he'd probably had frustration from the fact he'd had a goal disallowed and decided to dance in front of the Burnley fans, and to see that 30 seconds later his goal had been chalked off. So probably annoyed from that, which is fair enough. But yeah, definite red, and yeah, there's no debate on that for me.
Yeah, no, it's this sort of like the classic hero villain quote, isn't it, with with Foster? But yeah, it was definitely a red card. I mean, I suppose obviously I actually, on top of Company, I thought Company spoke very well after the game. Obviously we've seen Heckingbottom throw his toys out of the pram and start crying because he was taking West Forum, it would take about 15 years to take a goal kick, and then wondered why there was 14 minutes at a time and got punished for it. Whereas Company was very much like, look, I don't deal with the laws, I just look after my players, and that's that. And I thought that was quite noble of him to take, so fair play to him for that. But ultimately, for both if you hear very quickly, draw, fair result, would you say? All things considered?
I'd lean a bit more towards yes and no. If I was a Burnley fan, I might feel a little bit aggrieved, but I'm not, because I wouldn't want to support them. But yeah, overall, you'd probably say it was fair. If there was a team you'd pick more to win, I probably would have sided with them. But there wasn't a lot of chances, was there? I think Turner made a really good save first half down to his right. They've scored. They've obviously had the disallowed goal. That's kind of their three chances. We had, I think, where Sangare missed a header in the first half, we kind of completely missed it, didn't he? I think if he would have made any contact, he would have scored. We had the shot, I think, from Hudson-Odoi, which was pretty much meat and drink for Trafford, and obviously the absolute screamer from Hudson-Odoi. So I'd lean more towards a fair result, but if would have said to me, who do you think slightly agitated, might have sided with them, but yeah, overall, I think that's pretty fair.
Adam, what about you?
I don't think I can really disagree too much. You only look at the stats, actually, we had a lot more shots on goal, if you want to go off that. I think there was a lot more half chances and maybe ifs, buts and maybes from our point of view. I mean, Gibbs White going through on goal and nearly forgetting the ball, running behind him a couple of times and then cutting in. And I thought he was going to draw a penalty and then couldn't pick out a pass. Hudson-Odoi couldn't pick out a pass here and there. Alanga doing the same, I think, or getting it cut out. So yeah, I think a draw overall. And I think I've seen Reiss put this and a few other fans actually say this. Like, if you'd reverse the two games, Burnley and Chelsea, people wouldn't complain as much. But because we've drawn at home to Burnley, kind of people get on their backs a little bit more. And I can kind of see that. I was a bit disgruntled walking away, but having time to think, you kind of just you take it. It's a point. We'll beat better teams. We'll probably lose to worse teams probably this season. It's just the Forest way, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's true. I think if it was so unbelievably Forest, wasn't it? You go and beat Chelsea. You have this amazing deadline day where you get your key target of 18 months and you fill all the gaps that you think need filling, and then draw 1-1 with Burnley in a game that we're lucky to get a point from ultimately.
Part of me thinks the result actually brings us back down to earth a little bit, because I think the worst thing you can kind of do as a supporting fan base is get too excited and too complacent, almost like, oh yeah, we should beat these. That kind of brings us back down to earth of every game is very, very tough in this league, so we need to be on it every week. Otherwise, we're not going to just roll teams over this season. It's only our second season back, for Christ's sake. So, let's have a few. Let's keep our feet on the ground and just keep going. There's more to come. I'm still excited. I'm still very optimistic.
It's just a shame we didn't build on that Chelsea win, isn't it? But like I said, that's the one. Once you've won that game, you kind of think, well, that's gone now. That's in the past. Look, we've got to look forward and win the next game. But I think universally, most Forest fans would agree we probably would have expected to lose all his first 3 away games and probably win the 2 home games. So that would have put us on 6 points. So we're a point better than I think what we probably most of us would have said. So yeah, I think overall, as much as disappointed was last night not to get the 3 points, I think, overall, and sat in 8th. You can't grumble too much, can you?
8th in the Premier League.
I know.
What a time. Anyway, we're now going to move on to your slept on it thoughts.
Red side of the Trent. Slept on it thoughts.
So we will start with NFFC Bods, who says an experimental formation with 3 new signings, 1 who scored. A draw for point was a fair result in a game where Forest was subpar, but the opposition was close to the top of their game. 7 points after 5 games is a good take. Always room for improvements, but that's Premier League. Nigel Clough, the Son of Gods, said, when the fixtures were released, we said we'd take 6 points from the first 6 games. How very Forest of us to exceed that, but not in the way we predicted. Hudson-Odoi looked class. Sangare had some great moments. Montiel off it at the moment. All will come good, but you need a bit of time. Come on, you Reds. Todd Mills said, take the point and run. Warren McKenna at centre-back asking for trouble at this level. Montiel, and to a lesser extent, Sangare struggled with pace. Probably a bad time to play one of the poorer sides at home, trying to bed a few in. Hudson-Odoi outstanding goal and looked full of promise. Aston Sazzle or Sarah says, some decisions went our way, building something special at Forest. First game playing together with a lot of new players. Hudson-Odoi, what a debut goal, take a bow. I was in top 1, said lucky to get a point, looked unorganised, rushed and panicked for most of that game. Needs to be more imaginative in the final third. Poor performance, great goal from Hudson-Odoi though. Bit of a recurring theme here, isn't there? Sam said overall improvement from last year, gone from losing to Bournemouth and Fulham to beating Sheffield United and drawing to Burnley, which you can't complain about really. Hudson-Odoi and Alanga a real threat. Taiwo looking a little off the pace. Mangala and Yates good. Sangare improved second half. Worrell played well. McKenna a bit shaky. Aina amazing. Tavares really good. Montiel ... rash. With players coming back from injury and players getting settled in, we're looking at a good position going forwards. Michael Cooper says we will get better. A few need to get up to speed. Plenty of positives. Gibbs White still not firing just yet. Reece Bull said no need to panic. We'll get stronger when the new signings settle in. Hudson-Odoi, what a strike. Paul B says was really confident before the match, but in hindsight, draw seems fair. New players need time to bed in. It was fortunate with the disallowed VAR goal. And last but not least, was Elliot, or Premier League Elliot, who says didn't slip up on a potential bun asking, treat Sangare like Lodi last season, as in give him time to gel and the chance to learn the language and train with us more, and he'll be that boss number 6 that we need. Please don't play Kids by MGMT during a minute's silence, whoever you are. Yeah. Anyway, as we've got quite a few more. As always, we've got so many to go through, so thank you for getting those in. Much appreciated. We also have one from Lee Clark, who obviously is currently inspecting some picture Ollerton somewhere, I don't know. But he said, slept on it thoughts. Hudson-Odoi, brilliant. Love that he can't wait to dribble into the box. Aina very good too, but a pretty underwhelming display on the whole. With some fans, there's never an okay option. Players are either crap or world class. Bizarre, really. On to the next. Which is very true. Which is a bit ironic, really, that we're going to sort of lead on from that. Sort of into
just imagine Lee chucking a ball up in the air now, and it's just dropping dead on the floor in a puddle of water,
like not bouncing, nothing. Yeah,
and then draws out some red card.
You can play on that.
Yeah. I would love to have asked
a red card. Did you see?
Yeah, I was about to say that about the
guy,
the bloke. Yeah.
The red card. Like, what are you doing?
I love football. It's great. Sorry for my language. It's great, isn't it?
So funny. I couldn't believe it when I saw it. I was like,
you'll have to bleep that one out, Adam.
Yeah, we've been watched now, Adam. But anyway, we'll move on to our player performances. So, Reiss, I'm going to be rather nasty and give you 2. I think you probably guess who they are. Our centre-back pairing of Scott McKenna and Joe Worrell.
Well, I mean, like they're very similar, and I think Worrell's adapted to this level better than McKenna, that's for sure. But they're very similar in terms of they just can't, seem to get that consistency, and that's what I put about Worrell after the Chelsea game, where he was absolutely incredible. And then last night there was both. I mean, there was to a point where towards the end of the game there was kind of arguing with one another. So yeah, I'm not sure whether that is because they've changed from a back 3. I'm not too sure, because they've shown at times, both of them, and like I've said, especially more Worrell, who had that really good run at the back end of last season when we needed players to step up, to be fair to the lad. They've shown they can do it at this level. It's just the problem is at this level, you've got to be consistent more times often than not. And they both, you'd probably both say there was like a 6 out of 10 maybe last night where, you've got to be looking at a bit better than that, haven't you? So, I mean, even McKenna probably lower after that mistake, wasn't he? That was a bit of a mess, to be honest. But it's a tough one because I don't, with what they've both done for the club, I don't like going over OTT, and I don't like going OTT on one performance of players. But like I said earlier in the another point, there's competition for places now, and they know if the standards drop, and that's anybody in the team, not just them two, then they know there's somebody going to come in and take the shirt. But yeah, just the consistency. And it's just frustrating because I know they can do it. It's just that then there's times when they don't do it, and you're like, oh. And a few people put back to me, "Are they only human?" Which of course I get, but Premier League footballers have got to be consistent more times than not. That's why they're at this level, because that consistency is consistent. Using that word a lot, but yeah, probably a bit of an off night for them both, I guess, last night.
The Premier League's ruthless as well.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
so
it is. Yeah,
your mistakes stand out so much more than they do in the Championship.
If they was to play, give a 6 out of 10, let's say, on Saturday against Manchester City, then you're going to get beaten comfortably. You know what I mean? It's like you say, Adam. It's ruthless, but they've got it in them. It's just that it's kind of 1 week they're really good, and then 1 week they kind of go back to being fairly average again. So, but yeah, we'll see. This, we're only a few games into the season, and it's just frustrating for me because what you get on the back of this is why I put the tweet last week. Every week you're just getting, especially Joe being from the academy, every week you're getting questions: is he good enough? Is he not? And then it flip flaps every week. Like I seen, after the Chelsea game, Worrell was getting praise from everybody. Oh, absolutely brilliant and fully deserved, because he was. And then last night I seen loads, well, is it good enough? So it's kind of, what is it? We can't keep going from like 1 week to the other, can we? If a player's good enough and then not good enough, it's either they are or they're not. So I'm got my fingers crossed for them both that they can really get some consistency going, especially Worrell, because he just signed a new contract as well. The McKenna, if I was to make a bet on it, probably I might not. I didn't think he'll be here next season, but Joe's just signed a 3-year deal, I believe, hasn't he? So you'd probably expect him to play more as well. So you definitely want to see some more consistency overall, I'd say.
No, definitely. I think that I agree with the frustrating part. I actually would have gone as far to say that I felt McKenna was the worst player in red shirt last night, even worse than Montiel. I think, which I know is a bold call, but I genuinely felt that it just seemed like nothing went right for him whatsoever. The only thing that did was right at the end when he went out slide tackle block to stop that cross.
Which probably saved Sangare's
saves a goal. Yeah, and he was the only person. Yeah. He was the only person on the ground as well, to be fair to him, that actually said that Berger handballed it to before he got looked at on VAR. No other Forest player did.
I mean, in stoppage time, I think Adam mentioned Roberts' throw-in earlier, and I mentioned how like Worrell and McKenna was arguing. They was both trying to organise, to be fair to the lads. And like I said, that's where like the language barrier probably comes in, because I think Sangare is looking around like, where do I need to kind of be? And yeah, there's a bit of chaos at the end because we panicked a little bit, I think, when they chucked the ball into his box last night, didn't we? There was a few times where it literally got driven across the box on the floor and nobody was there for them. So, yeah, but not going to go OTT. It was an average performance probably from them both, but they are capable. That's for sure. It's just getting that consistency.
That's the thing. Yeah, it's just extracting it. Yeah. Someone who was very good though, Adam. I'll move on to someone nice for you. Is Big T, Taiwo Awoniyi. So that makes it in his last 9 league games, he's got 9 goals and 2 assists. Obviously, the most recent assist coming last night. which is just outrageous, really. There's no other way forward. That's just absolutely a phenomenal run of goal involvement for Forest. But I felt that when we were sort of toiling a little bit, he was the bright light still. He was still, working his nuts off at the top. He was still chasing the right loose causes. He was still throwing his body about. Him and that Jordan Byers, that his name, they had a proper good tussle at centre back. Striker. How do you think he played?
Yeah, it's kind of what you expect of Big T nowadays, isn't it? Just 100%, gives everything he can get, he can give, and just try and get players into play. I thought he was starved of service. I think he had one maybe half chance in the first half where I'm not sure if Hudson-Odoi played it down the line or played it himself, and when he tried to swing a boot at it, and I think Bayer did quite well to kind of snuff him out in that instance. But yeah, I think he struggled kind of to get his chances, unfortunately. I think it was a game where if Elanga could have had a better game against Charlie Taylor, then he might have got a chance or two. But I think they will come when people know what his runs are like and all that sort of stuff, and how he likes to get the ball in the box service-wise and everything. But you can't fault his effort. And obviously the stats aren't lying with 11 goal contributions in 9 games. I think he needs a few more goal involvements for a record of some sorts to do with an African player. I'm not sure exactly on the numbers or anything, but I know it's close to Salah. So yeah, I mean, as a striker, if you can't score goals, if you're providing in another instant, then that's good for the team, isn't it? And you know what you're going to get. And at least when he comes off the pitch, you kind of say he's put the work in. So yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy, even though he's not scoring, he's still doing his bit, isn't he?
No, definitely, absolutely. Reiss, I suppose we have to sort of cover the main man because he cost us £30 million. Being really nice of these player reviews, Ibrahima Sangare. Your thoughts on his performance?
You'll be asking me to cover Harry Arter's Forest career next.
Well, how did you guess?
I was surprised to see him start, I'm not going to lie, because he played for the Ivory Coast so it would have been a week today, wouldn't it? Last week, which their game got abandoned, I think, due to a waterlogged pitch in the end. I think they played Mali in a friendly, which, as we discussed in the chat, it's not ideal, is it? That apparently the fixture schedule is absolutely crammed full and we can't get enough rest yet. We're playing international friendlies 5 games into the season, but that's another discussion. But so yeah, he's still in the Ivory Coast Tuesday night. He's not going to fly back till Wednesday. I'm not sure how long a flight it is to the Ivory Coast, but I'm sure it's a fairly lengthy one. So you can write Wednesday off. So he's probably not going to get back to Nottingham or whatever till late Wednesday night. So you can kind of really write Thursday off as well. And then I'd imagine he's maybe trained 2 or 3 times over the weekend, which he's just come to a brand new team, a brand new country. I don't think he speaks English at the minute because that the gentleman on Twitter translated for him when he signed. And he's coming to a new league, which is the best league in the world. So I was surprised to see him start, but I thought he looked a bit rusty early doors, and kind of maybe the pace was a bit of a shock to him. But then I thought he actually once he got a touch of the ball, and actually there was a few times some really good interceptions from him, I thought he looked a bit better. But as the game went on, I think the last 15 minutes he started to tire. That led to the mistake right at the end where McKenna kind of got him out of jail. But look, it's one game. It's going to take the lad time. I know his record signing's coming for a lot of money for us, but it's going to take. There's going to be a bedding in process for some of these players. They've got to get used to each other again. That's what happened last season. So it's going to take time. Again, he was probably a 6 out of 10 1T, as was a lot of players last night, really. I don't think they really moved from a 6 and maybe down to a 5, some of them, like McKenna, as we mentioned earlier. But I'm sure there'll be more to come from him. So, yeah, I'm really excited about that signing. And I thought some of the comments, what I've seen on Twitter last night, were a bit over the top, to be honest, but that's what happens on Twitter. And like Lee said, it's either you're either incredible or Like, was it Gattuso said that? It's sometimes good, sometimes maybe poor.
No, yeah, I think you're right. I think it was just very middle of the road. He looked a bit not leggy, but he didn't see a little off the pace at times. But despite that, I mean, he got 5 tackles, 3 interceptions, and a clearance and a block shot as well. So that's 10 defensive actions, which is quite high, really. So even despite maybe not being at his best, that's still a fairly promising foundation to build. And that's the way I see it anyway. Because I agree with you. I think 6 out of 10 is about right, about fair. And yeah, hopefully you can build from that. As we sort of said, it's difficult. Like with the short international break, they got back later. I mean, Montiel, you can maybe make a claim for as well, because obviously it's Bolivia and stuff like that. So
high altitude,
deal with the altitudes. So yeah, you're right. Having Prendy to this sort of time is rather silly. But
the international break come at a bad time for us, didn't it? Really, because we signed all these new players. We'd just come off the back of an incredible win, and then most of them, because of the level we're playing at now, most of them have gone away with the countries. So I'm sure Steve Cooper in an ideal world would have rather had a week and a half on a training ground with them, but that's the Premier League.
Hudson-Odoi benefit from that, didn't they? I suppose.
Yeah, so. And Dominguez was another one, who trained. Who I know we didn't see last night, but that's a level we're at into resigning players who are playing for the country nowadays. So yeah.
Good space to be in. Last one for you, Adam. I'm sure you'll be very pleased to hear this one from me. Matt Turner, who I thought had a pretty good game.
I think you say Callum Hudson-Odoi, you bugger. No, I thought Matt Turner was... I had this conversation with my group of mates as well. Like, incredible coming off his line and claiming catches and actually wanting to be proactive in terms of... He was like asking like who wants the ball, basically. And he would generally like roll it out, throw it out, and as such. But I thought from goal kicks, it was a bit peculiar because it was like kind of a bit slow, kind of let Burnley get into their pressing positions. And then kind of his kicking maybe let him down a tiny bit. But I think overall, I thought he was all right. I think it's going to be an interesting one to see what it takes to give Vlachodimos his debut, obviously, because he's come in, he's got a wealth of experience playing Champions League and obviously got to the quarterfinals last season with Benfica. So he's not going to come and want to be sitting on the bench, neither is Turner. So it's really good competition. And I think he's a really proactive keeper. I think he's a lot better than what you gave him credit for at the start of the season, Christian. I think you would agree. He's not a bad shot stopper. He pulled off a cracking save in the first half, right down to his right hand side.
Their fans were nearly celebrating that as well.
I generally thought it was in as soon as it was a really good save. So yeah, I think
Cooper was trying to rush him to get on with his goal kicks as well. I don't know if you noticed, Adam.
I didn't really look at Cooper.
Very early on, Cooper was saying to him, like, come on, get on. And then it took a while, and Cooper was, like, really annoyed at him. I think maybe something they've worked on.
I think that would maybe his downfall, because that's what me and my friends were saying. Like, his distribution and his passing is a bit slow, whereas I think
his distribution with his hands is really good, because he chucks it over the defence, and I think he's good with that. It's maybe just his kicking. I think he's really quick to distribute, to be fair to him.
And now in the modern game, you need your number one to be just as good as your centre midfielder nowadays, don't you? So yeah, I think that might be the thing that lets him down. But you can't complain with either of them as a number two or a number one. Really, it'll be interesting to see how it kind of plays out. It's similar to like Arsenal when they dropped Ramsdale for Raya at the weekend. So yeah, it's nice to have two really good goalkeepers in your ranks, really.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting how that sort of one plays out. I do tend to agree with the distribution thing. I think he has been a little bit guilty of looking like he's got a bomb at his feet and just wants to clear it straight away without really doing anything with it. But you're right. There was one instance where he launched the ball towards Elanga, and the ball's like, it's a brilliant counter attack. Like, he's fractionally out because someone's impeded him. And I don't know. Again, talking about refereeing inconsistencies, quite why that wasn't a yellow card, I don't really know. He's just bodied the goalkeeper and prevented a counter attack. But sure, that's a yellow. But he cut through a good 40, 50 yards. And it was going straight to Elanga. It probably would have got there trajectory wise had he not been sort of like impeded. So you're right. I think with his hand, he's very quick to get it out. He's great off his line. You know, as a brilliant save to his right to tip it around the coast for a corner. I didn't think he'd get to that. Yeah, he's looking pretty solid so far, which is important.
It's one of my
goalkeeper's your most important position. So
it's one of my football pet peeves is when you've got a goalkeeper like that who's willing to come out for crosses, especially from set pieces, and we don't leave a man up. Like Elanga's had to run 30, 40 yards just to get forward. Like if he's already there, he doesn't have to run too far. It's kind of like it's a bit annoying. It is one of my pet peeves, and that we do that when we've got such pace on the break. You just think, why would you not give him a 30-yard head start instead of a bloody 60-yard rat race? You know what I mean?
There was an interesting stat on, I think, TalkSport in regards to because like everybody's like, this is going to us. Everyone's like, oh, Ramsdale been dropped for Ryan. There was a stat saying that Ramsdale had come out and caught, I think it was 17 crosses last season, where like Ryan had come out and caught like 60. Wow. So like the contrast in that, that's what I mean. When you've got a keeper who commands your box, now it does give you more confidence, doesn't it? But he's done well, I've been pleased with him.
I suppose that's a bit of a flawed stat, though, really, because realistically, Brentford.
Yeah, because he plays with Brentford. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's just like
if you've got Saliba in front of you, it's a bit different. Like
it's just a bit odd. Like
it's a little bit flawed.
Arsenal. It's a bit odd. Like Arsenal swapped him for me, but we're talking about
another debate for another time. But anyway, we move on to Forest's next fixture, which is the easiest fixture of the Premier League calendar. A trip to the Etihad Stadium. I believe they may have won a treble last season. I don't know if anyone's mentioned that or not. Bleak. But ultimately, these are the games we wanted to be here for. I'm intrigued to see, Adam, how you think we'll approach this game, because surely we can't go 4-2-3-1 there. Surely.
No, and I think this is why Cooper needed such a not a deep squad, because everyone gets 25 five people in their squad. I mean, I heard a lad on TalkSport mention this, why the media have got an agenda of Forest signing so many players when everyone's got the same squad size. I do believe we'll revert back to the 3 and play 2 pacey wing backs, whether you play Aina right wing back and Tavares at left wing back, just to offer that bit of support. But I wouldn't be shocked to see Niakate and Felipe reinstalled into the back line with Joe Worrell, to be honest, and we go 3-4-1-2 or whatever, or maybe even drop Gibbs White just for this one, give him a bit of a respite. I mean, I'm intrigued. I was interested that you didn't ask about him, because there's been a lot of people saying that he's not quite up to scratch. You're expecting more. I think last night he actually got into some really, really good positions, just like the ball didn't fall for him, or he forgot it, or the pass wasn't quite right. But I'd rather him be in the positions at least than not at all, if that makes sense. A bit like when your striker's not in the 6-yard box to tap home, sort of thing. So, yeah, I think we'll be similar to how we've been already this season away from home. I think we'll try and be tough to break down. Obviously, it's easier said than done against bloody Man City. They're in a world of their own, aren't they? So it's going to be interesting. I think with the improvements we've made already away from home, you kind of think that will continue. I mean, 6-0 away last season at the Etihad should be easier to beat, you'd like to think. But, you know, when Man City are in full flow, they're a hard team to stop as most of Europe and the world now. So, yeah, I think Cooper's got a tough decision to make in terms of personnel, but I'll be very interested to see what happens come 3 p.m. Saturday, well, 2 p.m. Saturday when you get team news, isn't it? So, yeah, I'll be interested to see what comes out.
No, that was a very bruising way. It was. I think we sort of covered it before. It was one of those where you're sort of half in awe at what you're watching and half like, "Oh Christ, we're getting battered." It was a bit very strange.
It could have been double figures that night.
That Cancelo ball outside of the foot was ridiculous last season.
He's not even there anymore. He started him last January. There's nothing.
That's how good. That's Pep for you, isn't it? He just gets rid of people who
disruptive. 2 years ago, he's probably one of the best wing backs in the world. Do you know what I mean? So
I know.
I mean, I think that outside of the ball, Adam, I think there was one he did last season. Bernardo Silva like dropped it on his chest, like leading back dead far. I was like, bloody hell. So very good.
Just outrageous. Reiss, what changes would you look to make ahead of Saturday's trip to New Main Road?
I don't think it's nothing like Main Road, is it? God, you say you're asking me what changes I'd make against Pep Guardiola.
Well, this is your chance, mate.
We all
Yeah.
play FIFA and Football Manager in here.
Yeah.
We're all football managers at heart.
Yeah, I'd definitely put Ryan Yates back in. I think that's one, because I think he's just someone you just, again, I know they've got Rodri and CDM, who's the best CDM in the world for me. I don't think any of us will debate that personally, but it's tough, isn't it? If we was to go to 3 at the back, then like Adam said, you'd probably look to have Arna at right wing back and Tavares at left wing back. And to be fair, Tavares' pace was he looked rapid last night, so that's an asset I think we could use going forward. The other option is you stay with a back 4 and maybe change one of the centre backs, which would most likely be McKenna, and stick either Niakate in there because he's a bit quicker, well, a lot quicker, or Felipe in there who's a lot more experienced but hasn't yet played, and maybe go with 3 in the midfield. But I think we did that last year, didn't we? And Rodri kind of bullied them all on his own. So I'm not sure what the right thing to kind of do is against Man City. It's kind of, they've really got to have an off day with respect to us, isn't it, for us to get something like, the result at the City Ground was absolutely incredible, but they missed at least 2 Giltez chances I can remember. I mean, Foden slipped over when he had a 2-on-1 with the goalkeeper, and then Haaland ballooned it over from about 6 yards out. So that's what you're kind of looking for, them to have a bit of an off day and us to be at his best to get something. But what way to go about it? I mean, only Steve Cooper will know that, I'm afraid. He works with players day in, day out, and for that game, it's going to be a low block, isn't it? They're going to have a lot of the ball. I guess a shame is they aren't away in Europe this week. They aren't away to Red Star Belgrade rather than at home, so they'd have a bit of travelling to do. But I'm literally like clutching at straws now. It's going to be us in a low block, but we're going to have to try and keep tight, which is something we didn't do last season. We could see that, I think, after maybe 11 minutes. And we're going to have to look to spring on the counter-attack, which this season we have got players who can, on the counter-attack, spring and hurt teams. So you kind of go in there and hope, because they're the best side in the world and the treble holders. But in football, you never know. So, yeah, we'll see come Saturday.
That we will. I reckon we'll go. It'd be 5-3-2. I reckon. I wouldn't be surprised to see Niakate and Felipe come in. I'd expect Tavares to start left wing back, I in a right wing back. Yeah. It'll probably be a midfield 3 of Yates, Sangare, and maybe even Dominguez, just to try and. You're right. Protect.
Not a bad first game to play.
I know. Yeah. Good luck. I still think it'll be.
In the 2, would you go Origi and Awoniyi? Yeah. Would you not go Origi?
I'd go Gibbs White. Taiwo.
I think
yeah, because Gibbs White is gonna. Taiwo's gonna need an out.
Most creative
so if you give it, you still can't. Yeah, if you give the ball, ultimately, when we're penned in, if it can't go to Taiwo, you look at Gibbs White. Whether he carries it out, whether he looks to play it to the wing backs in Tavares or Aina, or whether he tries to fight Taiwo, he's the only person we've got realistically who can do that. So yeah, I reckon it'll be Gibbs White.
You've got to play Taiwo up there, because if we lump it out, he's someone who can actually hold it up and
that's it. Yeah, hold the ball down.
Diaz and give Diaz and Guardiola maybe.
He didn't even start against them last season, did he?
No.
Did he start in the home game against them? I can't remember if he did.
I'm not sure if he did,
But Diaz?
No, I don't.
Or Taiwo?
No, Taiwo. I don't think he did. Try and have a...
Because, I remember the away game, we tried to play Lingard, Johnson, and that just got laughed at, basically.
Yeah, we were just kicking out, and he was just coming back, and you can't do that. You've got to have somebody up there who can hold it up a little bit. So Manchester.
But no, I kind of felt the same way.
Taiwo was injured. He was injured, wasn't he? Because he had that injury after Southampton. He didn't come back till April, so no, he didn't play. So I imagine it might have been like Gibbs, White, and Johnson, maybe.
In terms of scores, Lee's gone for a 3-1 reversal. So I'm assuming that he means City to win 3-1 and not Forest to win 3-1. But so which I think, to be honest, in the grand scheme of things, it wouldn't even be the worst result in the world, which is quite terrifying. But Adam, what score prediction would you give for the weekend?
I mean, we've scored in every league game this season, so I mean, it's all going to come to a cracking end on Saturday. I think City will probably win 2-0. I think we'll make it difficult, and I think they'll get one, and then they will get one where we're trying to somehow chase. I just think they'll have too much quality for us, even though they are playing this evening as we record this. So yeah, I think they'll just have too much for us. Jeremy Doku absolutely frightens me from what I've seen of him. I'd rather Grealish play, to be honest, but that's another pod.
It's not a bad choice to have, is it?
No, it's not. It's a bit unfair.
Yeah,
to be honest.
I mean, Jack Grealish, who literally is probably the most foul player in the league and keeps the ball as good as anyone in the league for me. So it's not bad to have someone else in instead. Ironically, Adam, City have scored in every game as well this season.
I mean, they have won every game, so that does help, doesn't it?
They have won every game. Yeah, they have won every game. So
we were the catalyst to them winning the treble, so maybe they'll give us a result as a thank you.
Yeah, I seen their little trailer for the documentary, and it shows you Edison going in the dressing room as like chucking his gloves across the dressing room. So that might be something in their mind. Who knows? Because they are serial winners, aren't they? They'd be like, "Oh, we didn't beat these last time. Let's beat them this time." So it's going to be very tough. And if we was to get anything, then yeah, God, if we was to get a point, run for the hills. But I'm going to agree with Lee. I think City will win 3-1.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also going to lean towards a moderately heavy defeat. I think we'll lose 3-0. It's not a reflection. I don't. We scored for 12 games in a row, and that's incredible, really. We think like got 7 goals already this season as well, so it's very good. But I just don't see us laying a glove on. I mean, the depth they've got is just staggering. I know, obviously, you look at the home game, and yeah, we got a point, and we out City and out Pep to get the equaliser. But as Reiss said earlier, we should have been buried by then. Haaland should have had a hat-trick. He didn't. He missed an open goal from 4 yards out. You can't really account for that. He's the bloke's a robot. That was the 1 out of 99 out of 100, that he didn't get right. So, yeah, I think we'll lose 3-0. But I mean, there's no shame in losing 3-0 to Man City, ultimately. It's just, I just hope they don't get embarrassed like we did last year, because I think the frustrating thing last year was when you saw Everton go there and draw, even with Lampard in charge. I mean, they're not invincible, City. You can leave scratches and marks on them, but
Brentford won there last year, for example.
Brentford won there, yeah, exactly. So, but a lot of things have to fall into place for you to do so.
We just won, I think, as fans, the performances, what we've shown at Man U and Arsenal.
Yeah.
Like last season, I think if we put in that level, and Liverpool, where we actually go there and have a go. It's just last season, we just...
Yeah, if Edison makes like 6 saves
and we lose 3-0. Wow, this is amazing, and rolled over.
Yeah, that's obviously it's not a day out, obviously, the game of football. But if Edison makes 6-7 saves, and we've tested them, we've actually worked them, we've just been a bit unlucky, and we lose 3-0, you sort of come away from that thinking, you know what, fine, play that against any other team in the league, we're probably going to get a chance of getting something. But that's just, unfortunately, how it is. But the good news is, we'll have City and Arsenal, the likely top 2 of the season, done and dusted away before October. So, good stuff. But yes, we will soon see. Obviously, you never know in football, as the great man once said. So, we'll have to wait and see how it transpires. But until then, yes, obviously, good point, I suppose, all things considered. Forest sitting 8th in the table. Drink that one in. And, yeah, come on, you Reds.
This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.